happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Folks, we have an astounding show for you to end your work week and start your holiday work week weekend. Obviously, here in the U.S., it is Labor Day on Monday. Most people are off. We will not be having a show on Monday. Mrs. Boom and I are going to kind of just do nothing because obviously usually Crispy and Fuzzy are with me on Mondays, and we kind of want to give everybody a chance to hang out with their families and enjoy the extra day off. So there will not be a new show of the Xbox Lunch Break Special on Monday because of the holiday. It has been a chaotic and incredibly hectic 2 weeks from Mrs. Boom and myself. So we're gonna take an extra day to kind of recharge our batteries. I'm probably going to put out a bunch of videos over the weekend that maybe if you miss some of the live content, you'll be able to catch up on, the stuff that we talked about regarding the Xbox Ally X and S with Hargeet. And of course, we're going to get into that conversation today as well, because some new information has come out on Good Old Games, where you can link your Xbox account. I think that what Xbox is doing right now is so leaps and bounds ahead of Sony. It's unbelievable. We are literally, folks, getting a glimpse of the future that is not supposed to arrive officially for Xbox anyway until 2027, and we're getting a preview 2 years in advance. And obviously, we don't know what's happening next year. We have heard that the OEM device is happening potentially for the holiday of next year. This device, which is unnamed at this point, probably is going to be a ROG device because they've already partnered with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if, after the handheld, they make the under the TV box. But that's not the only story we're going to be covering, folks. We got to be talking about these Helldiver 2 numbers. And folks, as expected, and again, the goalposts are consistently moving for, the Team Blue, or the blue team, as Fuzzy Belvedere likes to say. And apparently it's not because of the Xbox players that they hit 500,000 players across all platforms. Oh man, I got to tell you, the narrative moving and the goalpost shifting and the break dancing and the back flipping, I feel like sometimes I'm watching a Cirque du Soleil kind of a situation with PlayStation players, at least the trolls. But we're going to get into all of that. And of course, the breaking news of this morning is there's going to be a Call of Duty film, or at least potentially a Call of Duty film by Paramount. And now I know they didn't do good with Halo, but this is a film. And if they get the right director and writer, I think that could be dope. We're going to get into all of that. Crispy Bomb, good morning, kind sir. Welcome back.
What's going on? How's everybody? Yeah, it's been a fun week myself, lots of work, and today I'm gonna hit up, I played Gears this morning, so it's about time to hit up Helldivers 2 as well. So looking forward to the conversation. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. And speaking of Helldivers, I got a chance to play last night for about 2 hours. Got to level 8? Level 8 right now. Shout out to A-Bomb from the Xbox side of things. We also had a PlayStation player in our group, which was awesome. Didn't have a mic, but did help out in a big way. We had a great time just hanging out, playing, enjoying Helldivers 2. He did blow me up, though, by accident. Actually, he blew both of us up. He shot down a orbital strike too close to us, and it wasn't on purpose. Because I blew myself up with an orbital strike as well. So if these things happen, this is the life of a Helldiver. Sometimes you think you're far enough away, and ultimately you are not. And your body parts fly all over the place, and it is funny AF, especially when you land again and you hear your Helldiver say, "You think that could stop me?" And he just starts shooting. It's great. What an amazing game. If you have not picked it up, folks, and we're going to get into why you should pick it up. There's a multitude of reasons why you should pick it up, but Fuzzy Belvedere, good morning, kind sir. Welcome back.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, Helldivers is doing some big numbers these days. Yeah, it's great to see a multi-platform game do so well. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about and get into today, so this gonna be a good one.
It's going to be fun, ultimately, and that's what we're here for, folks. We are here to hang out with you for the next 90 minutes, have some fun, have some laughs, maybe, be a little pointed at times, but we're going to have fun nonetheless. So let's open up with the screen time post. Now, granted, I've seen many of the big Call of Duty sites, talk about this. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll read verbatim from Screen Time. It goes on to say this from their official Twitter account. Paramount is reportedly in talks to acquire the movie rights to the Call of Duty franchise. This comes the way via Matt Belloni. Now, Matt Belloni is a big, if you don't know who he is, I know who he is. I know who Matt is. He is a big scooper, not only in just regular film, but he's a big Marvel scooper as well. I only know of Matt Belloni from Josh from Den of Nerds. And then, of course, I started following Matt, and, well, he really knows his stuff. And Screen Time did do a article on suggesting the director. We're not so much going to get into that because, again, that's whatever they're going to do. I know that they're going to do it right because they want to make money. But interestingly enough, I went and looked back and took a look at what Paramount has done for films, not for TV. And again, I know a lot of people are like shaking in their boots about, well, oh my God, it can't be like a Halo. The Halo show was the first season wasn't good. It was okay. And anyone that wanted to see someone in a Master Chief suit that looked as good as that did was excited for it. But ultimately, the writing was terrible. The story was terrible. I don't think that's going to be the case here. Film is definitely a lot different than when you're making TV. And I know things have gotten, closer the way TV is made, especially if you watch like Alien Earth. It seems like a film. That's how good it's done. But for Paramount, this is what they released in the last year. A Quiet Place, Day One, which was excellent. Gladiator 2, I know a lot of people like that. I didn't see it. They have done the Sonic the Hedgehog films. Last year, they released Sonic the Hedgehog 3, made $1 gazillion. Mean Girls, take it or leave it. The Bob Marley One Love story, which was pretty good. Transformers 1 and Apartment 7A, which I did not see. And they have a bunch of other things as well. So, I mean, listen, it's Paramount Pictures. They've been around forever. But, Crispy, we keep hearing that Call of Duty is dead because of skins. And what we did learn is that, and it kind of pissed me off a bit, is that the skins that they normally move forward are not moving forward. So Beavis and Butthead, American Dad, and all the cool skins that I like to use that are actually military skins are not going to be used for Black Ops 7 because they want to keep it grounded. And I know there's a lot of people in the chat that are like, yeah, military. Okay, great. But you know what I don't is, so again, Call of Duty dead according to some, and that's fine if you think so. But you know what, and this is where I'm going to get a little funny. I said this to Crispy in the green room, and I said I'm going to repeat it. I don't see anyone racing to make a Battlefield movie. So yeah, there's that. And maybe that's a little bit pointed and a little bit scandalous, but Call of Duty is still alive and kicking. Yes, it's owned by Xbox and Microsoft. Yes, it is first party. Yes, Black Ops 7 is coming to Xbox Game Pass, which is awesome. But a film or potential trilogy of films could come the way of Call of Duty as its title. I don't know if this is going to be a film based on the characters that we know and love, which I think would actually be cool because I think that there is so much room for untold stories of many of the heroes from Call of Duty. Ghost specifically would be an incredible stealth type of story they could tell, right? Like he would be amazing. What are your thoughts on this news? Because again, I'm actually surprised this hasn't already happened, and it took this long to happen. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like, but that's the thing. Like Call of Duty's so vast, like the ability to go in any part of the story, and they could technically be true to it, and people would still watch. And it's a reference point that's a little different. Like it's not like a Tom Clancy, because Tom Clancy made novels first,
Yes.
and then they used it for different IP. So this is more influenced off of a game substantially, and it's kind of like, if you say, okay, we're just gonna see, they have the example of what not to do, and that's Battleship. You know what I'm saying? Like taking an IP and it just made no sense. Like the movie, the visual effects are okay. It was okay, but it was just like, why you're just throwing a name on it? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like you're just throwing a name on it. I mean, where in Battleship is there aliens and all this other crap? I mean, and it was weird. So like, I don't want that to happen. And the only thing is, it's Paramount right now, and it's like, can they learn from their mistake? And that's the one thing you got to look at. That's a positive. You know what I mean? They already made the mistake. They didn't stay as true as they should have to Halo, and now hopefully they learn from it. Because other than that, like people that haven't played all these campaigns, like somebody will know and be like, oh, that was like almost exactly what it was. But a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm just watching a movie. So they got to be able to balance that. And I do want to say, like, you're going to see a lot more games, like, or gaming IP getting moved to movies and TV. They're making as much as the comic book movies now. You know what I mean? So like you look at Minecraft, like bam.
Almost a billion, brother.
Super Mario was up there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic's been, to make 3 iterations now. Like, think about it. So you're gonna see a lot more than just what we've seen. They'll be scooping up games you probably haven't played in years or never heard of. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. So because like honestly, you could make a Pitfall movie. You could do all kinds of things. So we'll see what happens, because, Microsoft will gladly take the license money from that. And, they have the most IP that is able to be used right now. So we'll see how that goes, because I think there's going to be a bidding war at some point in the next like 5 years. You watch.
I don't think that you're wrong. You know what? Again, this is one of those situations where if the film does well, and I would imagine that it's going to do well. Again, am I suggesting it's going to be $1 billion film? Hell, I don't know. It could come out and bomb, right? But if it does do well, Paramount, obviously, like many of the other bigs out there, they have a streaming service, and they could easily transition from film to show, right? And again, it's. I think that this is going to be a much bigger deal. I'm just very interested to see what they decide to do, because there are multiple angles, Fuzzy, that they can attack this from. Right. Obviously, we are automatically thinking that they are trying to get the rights to make a film. And that's probably one of the Paramount, pun intended, reasons to do it. You want to make a big budget film, you want to spend a bunch of money on this film, and you want this film to make a bunch of money on the back end. I think that there is an opportunity here to do a game tie-in. I think that there could be a start for a film and a continuation in a game, or vice versa. And I think that if it does well, not only are you going to see this continue, you could see something like this be a big driver for sub counts for Paramount, who obviously could put a show together, a high budgeted show that follows or continues the story of what was on the big screen. What are your thoughts on this, man?
I think it's a good idea as far as using existing IP for, this like transmedia stuff that they've been doing, where the games turn into shows or movies, and movies turn into games and things like that. I mean, at least more recently, the shows that became games have been getting better and better. But as far as the games becoming movies and such, I think now is probably the best time, because it seems like Hollywood is going through a dry period of creativity or originality to some extent. So having something that's based in the Call of Duty universe where you're going to have action packed, not necessarily a Michael Bay type of explosions type of movie, but something kind of like what Crispy had hinted to with like the Tom Clancy space. I've been waiting for a Division movie or Division series for quite some time, and it looks like that's never going to come about type of deal. So having something like Call of Duty that's on a lot of people's, memory as far as whether they played it at an earlier age and they haven't really been in it lately, or that they actively play it with their friends, every weekend or weeknights and things like that. I think it's a worthwhile IP to, dip into and make a movie, or at least an action movie, because that could be your summer blockbuster, not necessarily this coming summer, but maybe like 2 or 3 years down the road, because movies can take a bit of time as far as the filming process and stuff, unlike the games themselves. But yeah, I also like the idea as far as whether the direction of the movie leads into more content in the game, or they can, base it off of any one of the 20 plus years of Call of Duty that's been out there, as far as the franchise and such, and have it being an interesting story that will appeal beyond to just gamers themselves. So it's pretty cool that they're going to have this, be looked at and probably come to the big screen here in a short period of time. But yeah, there's a ton that they could do with the Call of Duty IP, like just for the fact that between Black Ops or Modern Warfare, or even some of the futuristic stuff. Like I know that was one of the least popular Call of Duties and stuff, but it definitely has its place and would probably make for an even better action film, going into more futuristic stuff, kind of like what we're going to see in a bit of, Black Ops 7 as well, with some of the robots and such. But we'll see which direction they go.
Yeah, what's interesting? If you kind of look at what Xbox is doing right now, they have taken over the conversation of gaming. They have now taken over, and this is the topic we're going to get in the back end of the show, of hardware, right? I know that there's this big rumor about PlayStation 6 and it's going to have 3 SKUs. We're not talking about that today, because PlayStation is following Xbox. This is not a surprise at all, and almost to the T. But if you just look at what Xbox is doing as a whole, they have moved to be the biggest publisher in gaming. They have become the biggest games seller on their biggest rival's platform on PlayStation, with holding over and sometimes more than 5 of the top 10 spots for paid games, which is insane. They have new hardware partnered hardware releasing this year. They have an OEM device rumored to be releasing next year. Next year, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary as a platform, the 25th anniversary of Halo, the 20th anniversary of Gears. They have a lineup that seems to be just so ridiculous, it's unfair. And in 27, they're going to have their own hardware that could be, a dockable handheld and, this magical box underneath your TV. They already have hit series in Fallout. Fallout Season 2, going to New Vegas, for instance, is going to set Amazon on fire. It broke every record that Amazon had for their own stuff in the history of them going streaming, with the first season. We just got new information from, let me see where I pulled this from Windows Central. And this was published 6 days ago, so I'll add this because I am using the article. But David Litch, he is the director of the John Wick films and, of course, Deadpool, as well as Fall Guy. Well, he's going to be the director of the Gears of War film for Netflix. They also got John Spathis, who's writing or already wrote Dune, and that's a pretty big pair of writer and directors. So when you add the fact that, look, Fallout's huge, and obviously as gamers we knew how big the franchise was. but the normies love the show. So now it's even bigger. Gears of War has the potential. Obviously, it just released on PlayStation for the first time ever with Reloaded. I would imagine it's doing well there. People are enjoying it. And now we have a film coming out potentially next year or the following year. That's a really big deal. Now, when you add Call of Duty, ladies and gentlemen, to the conversation, that's a pretty big deal. Listen, again, I know that, a lot of trolls say Call of Duty is dead because it's Xbox owned. I get it, folks. The console war is going to be the console war, but the truth of the matter is that this is a multi-billion-dollar franchise that is now going to the potential big screen as well as the small screen. Because if it does well in film for the movies, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to try and make a series out of this. They're just whether it's continued or it's a different tale altogether. I mean, who knows? Maybe the first film is talking about just Call of Duty, right? Maybe the TV series is Black Ops based. Who the heck knows? I know that this new information is exciting for anyone that's a fan of the series. I've been a fan since inception, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Paramount should. And again, remember, they're fighting for the rights. I don't know if someone else is going to come in and outbid them. Right now, it's just Paramount. Who knows what happens? But the fact that Call of Duty is going to the big screen is awesome, and I'm here for it. Gentlemen, let me just catch up on the super chat we got here. Well, we actually have a member chat from my brother, Neo Mental, in the chat. What's up, brother? Great to see you here. He's probably working from home as he does. Talented artist for sure. He says this. First of all, he's been a member for 62 months. So, of course, I can't thank my brother enough for the support. He says, I hate Helldivers almost as much as he hates me. How dare you, sir? How dare you say that to me live on the air? I shouldn't even read that. I should have been like, well, there's a glitch. I can't read what you said. But I had to because he's my brother and I love him. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Neo Mental. Golf clap for him. There you go. So, all right. So, gentlemen, I want to get into the Helldivers 2 conversation. It's a phenomenon. It was a phenomenon when it released on PlayStation 5 and PC. We know the numbers. It broke 200,000 concurrent players. That's a really big deal. And it's one of Sony's biggest multiplayer games in years. It is making them a lot of money. Again, it is their most successful gas game. You cannot argue how well this is doing for Sony. And, considering some of the troubles they've had with the cancellations and something like Concord, this is a triumph. No matter how you try to slice it, this is a really big deal for Sony. And it was such a big deal that they realized that they had the potential to make a lot of money on Xbox. Now, again, just for context and not pointed conversation, we know that the unofficial number of amount of copies sold prior to the Xbox launch the other day was about 14 million copies sold. 12 million of those copies were reportedly on PC, leaving 2 million copies sold potentially on PlayStation 5. That's not a great number considering that every time something good happens for Xbox, Crispy Bomb, we see someone bring up console sales for PlayStation. Like, that is just their running narrative. And it has been. If it's not first-party games, it's console sales. If it's not console sales, it's something else. The goalposts are always moving, and it's honestly exhausting. Like, I don't know how they even have the stamina to eat and play games, rather, because they're constantly backflipping and rolling around trying to make the narrative fit their ridiculousness. But ultimately, this is a game from a studio that I think shocked a lot of people. It came out and it was really good. I bought it on PlayStation 5 gladly, bought the deluxe edition there, and had a really good time with it. I'm not a big fan of the DualSense or the PlayStation controller in general, so I could not wait for it to come to Xbox so I can use my Elite controller, which is what I'm using right now, and I'm very much enjoying it. But then on the 26th of August, Crispy Bomb, it released onto Xbox. And the numbers have exploded in a way that did not happen when it solely launched on PS5 and on Steam. The peak concurrent players were 200K, and that's a lot of players. That is a phenomenon. That is something to be had. But when you look at what happened when it came to Xbox, it not only spurred more sales on Steam, and I don't know about PlayStation because it wasn't reported. It was reported that it was back at #1 on Steam for most paid for game as soon as it was announced and launched for Xbox. Now, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that ODST is a part of the crossover. That's a really big deal. So I don't know if it increased sales on PlayStation. I do know that it increased sales on Steam. But then we got a report, and all the bigs were reporting it, that they topped out at over 500,000 players across all platforms. So and again, folks, I'm no mathematician, but if they're reporting that 114,000 people are playing on Steam, which is what the report was, and the ultimate report saying that the total number of players were 500K, I would dare say, and walk a razor's edge in saying so, that most of the additional players were probably Xbox players who are known for what, Crispy Bomb? Multiplayer. This is a ginormous win for Sony, but it's even a bigger win for Xbox, because what this does, what I'm telling you right now, if they haven't already had a conversation, they're having that conversation as we're speaking right now, where this is doing so well for Sony, even though it's a gas game, it's a multi-plat. Other games are going to be coming over. We'll talk about that another time, but let's talk numbers, because numbers do the talking and the walking. 500K, and of course, the internet a-holes, as I like to call them, are saying that Xbox players are in no way, shape, or form responsible for this resurgence. What do you think about that, man?
Well, that's interesting because I've been a part of this Helldivers group in Facebook for a while, and the first thing they notice, and don't get me wrong, the number is not that big, but literally as soon as it launched, a lot of the people, after I would say 6 hours, probably getting their feet wet, started going after the faction that PlayStation and Steam players hated the most, Illuminate. And apparently they have characteristics that are similar to a lot of things that Halo players have played. To top that off, the 500,000, it was actually overloading the servers.
Yes.
They didn't get overloaded, it didn't shut down, but a lot of people that I live near that have been playing it have just been like, dude, I haven't even bothered. Because East Coast, we have such a dense population that there's a lot of people that have this game now around me, and we had the same internet. I just didn't even bother. I didn't have the patience, and I also had to be at work the next morning, so I was just like, whatever. But really looking at it, it's crazy because everybody says it's a dead platform, and everybody says that Xbox has no games. Oh wait, we do. I forgot about that. See, that's the thing. These people have said all these things, then we throw it back at them. They're like, "Oh, you're being mean." It's like, no, we're just telling you that you just need to stop. You just need to stop saying just stupid BS. You got to really read the room and be like, oh, today, you should see more guys being like, hey, PlayStation, why are you copying Xbox? I've seen a few, but since your platform is so far superior, by all means, You know, tell us otherwise. Tell us that we don't play tons of multiplayer games. Tell us that we don't play multiple different games because we're part of Game Pass and we just try things because we can. You know, it's like when you go on Netflix, hey, I'm looking for a show. Oh, let me try this one. Oh, this one's really good. I'm sucked in. I'm 7 seasons. I'm for it. You know, these are the things that are happening within the Xbox ecosystem. So when you see people and you start looking into Helldivers and you see how great the community is, and on top of that, the humor, you know, especially for people our age, you know, Starship Troopers, I don't care. That's a great movie. Like, I don't care what anybody says. And it's cheeky and it's fun, and that's exactly what the game is, you know, and it's clearly, I think, they're going to be, if they add more servers, I think this could skyrocket even higher. But I think they're a little taken back at this point because even what the Arrowhead CEO said some cheeky.
Yeah, you know what? I actually have his quote in front of me. So for context, additional context for your thoughts, here, this is what he had to say. Now, again, this is the story. I want to give credit where credit is due. Games Radar. It was who wrote this? Issy van der Velde wrote this, published yesterday. Arrowhead CEO humbly asks Helldivers 2 fans to stop shitting their pants as servers wobble under the weight of 500,000 concurrent divers following Xbox recruits joining the fight and a new Halo ODST Warbond mission. Well, there you go.
I mean, and you just think about it, like the Halo thing, it was just icing on the cake. I think this game would have still done huge numbers.
I agree.
But then you got guys like that, you know, went to PlayStation, you know, when the Xbox One era, and you know what? Guess what? Now they're like, oh man, well, I still remember Halo, man. Let's go, you know, and they go and buy it. So we're not saying that every person is Xbox. There's obviously, you know, a lot of great marketing that's been done between all the companies. So I think realistically, this is a blueprint for multiple companies to say, hey, like, can we do things like this with, let's say, older IP? And that's where we get into PlayStation's going to bring more games, people. I'm sorry to tell you. If you're going to lose your mind, it's okay. Go breathe in the pillow, scream in the pillow, relax, because it's going to happen. And regardless of your fanboy thoughts and goalposts moving, those numbers are there for a reason. And I bet you it could go higher. But as they said, they're hurting right now, and they're gonna. I think Microsoft, you got to step in, guys. You know what I mean? You gotta be like, here's extra help. You know, that's something that they should do just for the community to just grow and grow, because I think it can go way higher.
You know, shout out to AVJ in the chat. He says, new analytics just came out, and it seems like they sold, meaning Arrowhead and Helldivers 2, 600,000 copies on Xbox in the first 2 days. A lot of copies for a game that is can be difficult. I find it to be fine. I know my brother hated the Konami code that you got to enter every time you want to drop something. But it's actually not a problem. I'm actually unlocked a bunch of stuff. I got a Gatling gun now, that a turret. I got a Gatling orbital strike I just added. I mean, there's just so I'm enjoying myself a lot, and I actually can't wait to get done with the show. No offense, to play that freaking game. So if you want to team up and you see me, just jump in, folks. It's Mr. BoomStick XL. That's the gamer tag. Jump in. I do have a mic. Yes, we can talk and hang out. But Fuzzy Bobby, let's talk some numbers, because the one thing that we have seen a lot of people use for both console warring and, you know, driving the point of a game being considered a winner or a loser is player count. And usually that is pointed towards Steam. Like, you'll see a game come out and it'll have, like, you know, something like Marvel Rivals, where it had hundreds of thousands of people playing this game. So obviously it hit in a big, big way. This 500,000, and again, this is the numbers that I have in front of me, folks, they could have changed, sure. But as that 500,000 concurrent player, or I think it got up to 503, if I'm not mistaken, 503 and some change. As that was being reported on Steam, it was just a pinch under 115,000 players, which that means the rest of those players were either on PlayStation 5 or Xbox. And I know there's been some pushback to say, and I don't know the numbers on PlayStation, and I'm not going to even politely suggest otherwise. I don't have the numbers, so I can't say how many people on PlayStation were playing. But I don't think it's a coincidence that from the 500,000 and the reported 115,000 on Steam, it's a good thought in theory that a large part of the remaining number of players were from Xbox because it just released on the platform. That means that Xbox players not only showed up to buy it, because I thought we don't buy games according to the PlayStation Blues, right? They tell we don't buy games. We're so trained for Game Pass, we don't support the dev. Well, apparently they came out and 600,000 of us bought the game. And maybe it's more than that. Let's get your thoughts on the numbers, bro.
Yeah, I was thinking, considering that the PC part of the community was the larger of the two when it was just PS5 and PC, that if Steam is showing 140 some thousand playing, that probably less than half that is PS5, or maybe let's just say, for numbers' sake, the same number of PC players that were showing on Steam at 115 or 140 or whatever. Let's say they were PlayStation 5 players. That means more than half the players were on Xbox. And it's no surprise to me. Like I said this as soon as this was announced, that in a few years, this game will be more known as being an Xbox game than a PlayStation game. And it's not that we're going to somehow take it over. It's just that this fits the Xbox community more as far as a co-op game that you can play on a regular basis to grind, to unlock new weapons and new abilities and things like that. Like, the main thing I saw different when a lot of the PlayStation players played this, it was like a lot of them played in their groups. And then as the groups fell apart, then you'd have a few that were solo that would get up to like level 30 or 40 or whatever. So they'd have like the drone always following them and stuff like that. So that way it makes it a little bit easier to play solo. But after a while, they stopped bothering with queuing for looking for groups and things like that. PC players were still playing in groups. In fact, there was a lot of looking for group posts and things like that you would find in the Steam community posts and such. So this fits Xbox's style, I guess, as far as like the types of games that we play. So I would say we're going to see if the service can hold up, this could definitely grow. Like what Crispy said, there is a lot of potential for this game to be in that top, 2 or 3 for sales and most played and stuff like that, provided that servers work well. Now, I've noticed a few people have made mention as far as its performance. Maybe some of that could be tied to the server overload. The visuals, and I said this the minute I even got it on PC and put everything on the highest settings possible. For the people that clowned Starfield facial expressions and the overall look, I was like, how dare you? When Helldivers looks like something from last generation, as far as the character facial, or not even the facial, but like some of the I guess the NPCs that you'll talk to on the ship and stuff like that. I'm like, this looks like last generation, but the game is fun as hell as far as when it comes to playing it. So you can overlook that stuff. But yeah, from a performance standpoint, I played it on PC. It was never really an issue other than like the, when you connect it to your PlayStation account. And I know that was an issue on the first few days or first few hours when it launched originally. But now that you have Xbox players playing it, I feel that it's going to wind up being more of a Xbox go-to type of game than people realize. I mean, I know Sony tried to make Destiny feel like, before they acquired Bungie, that is, like it was only on PlayStation, even though a lot of people on Xbox played it. This will be that game that will be more known on Xbox as a good co-op type of thing. But yeah, no surprise it's doing numbers. No surprise that the I guess you could say the community building, as far as people playing. I know there were a lot of PlayStation cats that were like, well, I'm a team kill. But waste your time and everybody else's, and then that makes the community die faster, kind of thing.
Yes. Mhm.
And a lot of those guys that were saying stupidness like that either didn't buy the game or bought the game, played it for like a day or two, and then never touched it again. So you never really had to worry about them even contributing negatively to the community. But yeah, it's cool to see. This is going to be the canary in the coal mine kind of thing with for PlayStation, as far as, they buy games, unlike what our customers try and say. And remember, if they were all about buying games, Sony wouldn't be looking to expand their platform to PC or to Switch or to Xbox. So this is definitely going to open their eyes to other potential games, whether it's something like Spider-Man or Days Gone or whatever. But yeah, it's great to see. I encourage people to pick it up if you haven't already. I'm on PC. I'll probably need to reinstall it, but I'm currently on my Diablo grind. For whatever reason, it's like I was playing Division 2, minding my own business, and a couple of my friends were playing Diablo. I was like, I'll hop in. I got to do another season. And then I found the Lightning Sorcerer build that pretty much I can solo torment to for all the content. So
Nice.
I'm pretty happy right now. But yeah, Helldivers was a fun game. And I'll more than likely get back in here in a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, the numbers don't lie, folks. And I like the way that Fuzzy came at this. Let's, like, just for shits and giggles, that there were 115,000 people playing on PlayStation, which, again, if that's the case, that's the case. That still says more than half were Xbox players. That's a freaking pretty big deal. And I said this on the socials. This is what happens when you invite Xbox to the party. They show up and they show out. That's just the way it is. Especially when it comes to multiplayer games. Yes, we do show up, and even more so, we do buy games. And that's also a thing I like to kind of quickly touch on before we get into the Xbox Ally X and S conversation, because that's what I'm calling it. I'm not calling it I don't have to call it the ROG. It is the Xbox Ally. That's what they call it. And I'm adding an S to it. I think it's a missed opportunity. They should have definitely called it the S and the X, but that's just me. But again, I don't want it to be hyperbolic or anything, but the conversation of Xbox players don't buy games. This is one of those situations where it proves that that's wrong. This is not Game Pass. It is not day and date in service. You have to go buy this game. Yes, there are multiple versions. There is a $40 version, which you can get just to get the base game, or you can get the big boy edition, which I paid twice for. I double dipped, and I gladly did it. I bought it on PlayStation originally, bought it on Xbox, and I'm having a blast with it. I cannot wait. It's all I'm thinking about playing. And I'm happy that I rolled credits on Gears. Gears is fun. Had a lot. It looked great. Again, it was great to get back to a game that old, that looked that good, but the AI, especially the team AI, was just, oh my god, it's just awful, just freaking awful. So I'm hoping that if they do Gears of War 2 and 3 Reloaded, that they do something with I don't know, I don't remember if the AI was as terrible. I know that Dom just kept getting killed. Oh my god, it drove me crazy, but it's fine. It was fun to get back to it, and I think over the weekend, even though my brother insulted me live on the air, I'm gonna try and team up with him so we can run through Gears like we did all those years ago, and now it's going to look good and it's going to be fun. But let me just catch up on the super chats here, gentlemen, and we're going to get into that Xbox Ally S and X conversation. There's been a lot of really big news on what they're doing, and I think ultimately, folks, when this thing releases later this year in October, it is going to be a glimpse of the future for Xbox, and that future is incredibly bright, and it's going to be so different than your standard years before it, where you just went and you got a box and it did what it always does, and it played games, and you had the arguments of P versus P, and 1080p makes you a good gamer or it doesn't, stuff like that. That's all going out the window. Xbox is changing the game literally again. But let's see. We have a member chat here from Brett Bingham, good friend of the show. I talk to Brett pretty much every day. He says this after being a channel member for 29 months. Hey, Hiroki, I hear you like money. Be Mr. Krabs and sell out your loyal fan base and bring over the whole slate. We don't buy games. We also have a good friend of the show, a generous friend of the show, Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for 37 months. Tim goes on to say, yeah, I like, at Brett said, bring it over the whole slate, Mr. Totoki. Anyway, everyone, have a great gaming weekend and Labor Day. Awesome show, chat, and panel. Well, brother, it's great to have you here. Thank you for the continued generosity and, of course, the kind words. Brett Bingham drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I named my ship in Helldivers 2 the Prophet of Truth. That's pretty cool. Mine is called the Sword of Vengeance. I believe that's what I named the ship, which is pretty cool also. I do like that. So, yep, Sword of Vengeance. For me, the Prophet of Truth. I saw that, Brett. That's pretty dope, I got to admit. And it says, we buy and play games. Yes, we do. We also have Day Reezy in the chat. Day, great to see you here, brother. Thank you so much for the continued support. Love seeing you in the chat. He says this after dropping a very generous $2 super chat. HB2 launch during this the week. I'll wait until the weekend. Yeah, you know what? That's interesting. I mean, listen, they have people that get paid the big salaries, Dave Reezy, and it makes sense, right? So it released during the week, and it had 500,000 concurrent players. You're onto something. And this is, I think Crispy might have made mention of this. Let's just see what happens during the weekend, because it's a holiday weekend. So people are going to show up big today, Saturday, Sunday, and of course, normally when you're going to bed for Monday because you got work, you're not. So I think that we could see even bigger numbers over the weekend. You are definitely onto something. But gentlemen, I want to move into the conversation of hardware. Now, not the traditional hardware, handheld hardware. And this year, we are going to see the launch of the Xbox Ally X and S consoles. We pretty much know everything about these consoles. And even though we have a lot of information, some new information has come out about what they're going to be doing. We'll get to that in a second. But the only thing we don't know are the two, and they're kind of important pieces of information, to be honest with you, is, of course, the price and when the pre-orders go live. Now, again, it's supposed to launch in October. September is over the weekend. Hey, folks, we kind of need the information, right? I'm the boss. I need the info. Hopefully, we get that information soon. Keosante on Primetime Gaming was saying that, the withholding of the price could be to potentially drop it by $50, which would be insane. Maybe the $549 version, which he believes is going to be the one to get. He's actually calling that over the big boy. That's $900 for a multitude of reasons. Again, I'm going to put a video out later today on the breakdown. But if you missed that and you don't want to wait, go check out Primetime Gaming, because he does break down why he thinks that. And it's a phenomenal conversation. If that gets dropped down to $499.99, Crispy Bomb, it's going to fly off shelves, because obviously now you're doing a price comparison almost to the Switch. Switch is $549 for the console $449 for the console by itself, $500 with a game. But at $499.99 for this handheld, that's going to give you the ability to play Steam, good old games, your Epic Games Store, Xbox Game Pass, and a good portion of your library. It's going to fly off shelves. The big boy, which again, I don't think that $850 or $849.99 to $899.99 is that big of a drop. Maybe they drop it $100 and they get it to $799.99. That would be something. But again, we will certainly see. But I had sent you guys over some information regarding what they are currently doing. And I got to shout out Tom Warren, who put out this story. This again, folks, this is brilliance happening in front of us. And a lot of us take it for granted. Like the work that Xbox is doing with ROG right now on this hardware is ultimately a blueprint or a step taking towards the future of their own hardware, which is expected in 2027. So Tom Warren put out a post here. He actually wrote an article from The Verge, and his post on X, which of course I'm going to add both his post and the article to the show. So if you want to check it out, please by all means check out what Tom had to say. He says Xbox's cross-device play history is rolling out now and syncs your recently played games on every screen, Crispy Bomb. Your recent game list on Xbox consoles, PC, or handhelds will remain consistent across all platforms, and that also now includes the cloud titles as well. Holy shit. They got so much slack, Crispy, for this is an Xbox or Xbox Play Anywhere. And when you read this, my God. And again, this is not console warren, folks. This is just let's be adults and read the room. Nintendo is always going to Nintendo. So they're not even a part of this conversation, right? But when you're talking platforms, you're talking Xbox, you're talking PC, and you are most definitely talking PlayStation. And if you kind of push PC off to the side because, well, PC is also going to PC on a regular basis, and you're talking Xbox and PlayStation, and you look at what both platforms are currently doing, Xbox is leaps and bounds ahead of Sony. Now, granted, I am not suggesting one iota that because of this new tech and what they're doing with the handhelds and what they're doing to make every screen have your saves and you can literally go from screen to screen to screen and you're just going, is going to make anybody move or abandon PlayStation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the hardcore is going to stay with PlayStation and they're going to play in their $5,000 rigs privately and never talk about it. But I think that the majority of people that play on PlayStation now are PlayStation gamers. A lot of those gamers are in this chat right now, and they're just gamers. And that's awesome. They don't care about console wars. They don't care about trolling. They just want to play good games. And right now they're winning because they're getting a bunch of Xbox games, and they get a chance to play on the platform and use the controller that they like using. A controller that might have followed them from the PlayStation 3, 4, and now 5, and potentially the 6. So you know what? That's fine. But Crispy, this is unbelievable news. And this also comes off the heels of another report that from Good Old Games is allowing you to link your account. So all of your games, we've seen this, we've talked about it. All your games are going to be up on the screen for you to look at. Everything that's installed, everything that you own, whether it be on Steam, Good Old Games, Epic Game Store, Xbox Game Pass, or your Xbox library. And again, not every game is playable today, but every game will be playable potentially tomorrow. And then I mean, like, how do you not play on Xbox is the question. Let's get your thoughts on this new report and, of course, the hardware that's expected to release in about a month.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of ran it down perfectly because this is just Good Old Games is first. That's all. Like, you're going to get announcements from all these storefronts because at the end of the day, they're going to look at it and be like, oh, we can make more money. It's going to take time for some of these games to be able to be played on some of these platforms that are going to come out because we're at the point where even Sony's looking at like a cell phone model. Be honest.
Yeah.
Having 3 different versions of a phone with different chipsets and screens. And, it just so happens that you get to pick your TV and they're just going to change the box under your TV. The problem is Sony's looking at it still traditionally console. Microsoft's looking at it like, can we actually get a PC-like device in everyone's home? Because people have pocket PCs, but can you still have, that element that takes you away from the phone? You know what I mean? And they're looking at it that way. And people, I've seen arguments that, oh, it'll alienate your own ecosystem because then all people will do is buy Steam games. No, if you're sub to Game Pass, why would you even buy it? Those are the conundrums, you know. So the arguments are there, but I don't think they're going to mean anything because at the end of all of this, I think Xbox is going to sell way more than they ever have. I hope they're prepared because once it comes out, you know, I think you're right. I think the Ally S is even the one I would look to. If they lower the price, that would be awesome.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if that would happen, but it's kind of weird that you still don't have the price out there. And I feel like they know if they go up, then what the rumor is, that there's going to be backlash big time. People are going to be like, oh, hell no, I ain't going to bother. You know what I mean? And that's where you say, do you go to because like you go to the Switch price, realistically, it really is because Mario Kart World is like needed. So, you know, if you go to that price at 500 for that, even if you left the X1 at the price, but just lowered the other one, I think it would sell really well and people would want to experience what they're trying to build. But got to be mindful. It's very in its infantile stage and it could be a hot mess at the beginning. That's why I'm not really looking to it as much, especially financial wise at this point. So maybe getting towards Christmas, you never know. And I think that's going to be a big deal, you know, the release of it, you know, getting that ramped up and hopefully they don't have the scalpers out there. Cause I swear, like they just ruin everything now. Like even like people trying to collect cards and stuff, like it's just ridiculous, but we can only hope, right? So, but yeah, I think it's going to be a big sell, at least the S version.
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't know if there is going to be a scalper problem. Now, granted, you're onto something because normally the scalpers come out. It's releasing right before the major holidays. Obviously, it's October. So you have Thanksgiving, and then when Thanksgiving hits, it's all Christmas talk, right? But interestingly enough, you know, we got the information, Fuzzy Belvedere, from Sarah Bond that they were going to be releasing these consoles would be releasing in 34 regions around the world, not just in America. So I think they're getting prepared to make these widely available. It is 2025. I don't know. I mean, well, we do know everything's expensive, but I don't know if that's going to get people not to buy or to kind of, because again, everything's so expensive right now. People may not have the spendable money, right? Especially for a $900 handheld. Now, there is an enthusiast group out there that's not going to care, right? And we're a part of that. But after speaking with Kay Asante, I'm kind of like really stuck. I don't know if I want the $900 one or the potentially $500 one. And you know something, hearing you talk about it, you have been pushing the envelope for weeks now on why this thing is as good, potentially even better than the Steam Deck, and why it's worth its price of admission. And now we get all this new information about what this thing is going to be able to do, where no matter where you go, if you're gaming on your PC, your handheld, your Xbox, your TV, your tablet, your phone, everything is going to be under one screen, which is insane. But then, of course, this happens to launch right before the console. Like I said, I know that sometimes Xbox does get it wrong. This is one of those instances where they freaking got it right, man. Let's get your thoughts on it.
Oh, yeah. And Crispy had pointed this out to me like a month or so ago. Remember when I made that request, like on the console, I want to have it where I can sort my library by Play Anywhere.
Yes.
To know how many games I own. They already done that and taken care of that in the update, a recent update on Xbox. So if you go to your library that you currently have, and you know how it's like broken up between like Game Pass or games with gold, games you own, and so forth. you'll start to see. So just for a bit of background, I have like 900 games I have access to. A good bit of them are Game Pass games, but there's also quite a few digitally owned games and things. And out of the 900, almost 400 of them are Play Anywhere that I have. So that gives me a pretty good understanding that if I go and buy this device, I have 400 games I have instant access to, of which, with the syncing of your saves and progress, with certain exceptions, and I think Fallout 4 is still that exception because that's one of the few first party studio games that I have two different saves and I can't link them, kind of thing. Although maybe I can choose to overwrite the one with the most progress, which I think is the one that's on my console. But all in all, you'd be able to see out of your library of Play Anywhere games what you already have access to. Now, I know some of your older 360 titles, with a few exceptions, some of them are Play Anywhere, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of your Xbox One games, about 50-50 split. If it's first party, it's probably Play Anywhere. If it's something like a Take-Two or Rockstar game, it's probably not, because they're going to want you to double and triple dip. But it gives you a good idea of what you already own that you can play on this device from day one. And if you're looking at it from a Game Pass standpoint, more than half the games that are on Game Pass right now are Play Anywhere. Now, a good bit are first party. A good bit are also a lot of their partner devs that, like Ubisoft has some stuff that's Play Anywhere. I'm trying to think. Capcom, a lot of their stuff is Play Anywhere. A lot of Sega, with the exception of the Shinobi title. That's the one that kind of stings a little bit because that's like a perfect game for a handheld device. But I have a feeling it will eventually wind up being a Play Anywhere. Maybe it was a timing matter, or maybe Sega's like, hey, we know this works great on that handheld device. We want you to double dip. Whatever the case may be, you should have a pretty good idea of what amount of your library will carry everywhere you go if you were to pick up this device. And like I said, for that device to be under $600, that's well worth that price for that technology. Think of it as a console on the go that's more powerful than a Steam Deck, more powerful than a Switch, or even the Switch 2 for that matter. And given the news that we've been hearing about Nintendo being Nintendo, where they're kind of stingy on some of the dev kits, they're like, oh, just make the game work for Switch 1 and it'll automatically work for Switch 2, which we all know our cell phones are probably more powerful than the Switch 1. So good luck with that. But, it is what it is as far as that's concerned. But I would say things like good old games, having it where you can link your account. We've had that with Steam. Epic, I believe I already have that linked as well.
Yes, mine as well. Me too.
So you have all of those games, like especially like with GOG, I got like 50 games for free a while ago. Like they were like
that's nice, dude.
They were like 6 cents each. These are games that were about to be delisted. And GOG is great about preservation of older games. So if there's like an old niche side beat 'em up kind of game, or like an old RPG that was more text than actual like screens and things like that, you can probably find it on there, where it's hard to find them anywhere other than on like a CD-ROM from like the 80s or 90s or something along those lines. But having where you can link all those accounts and knowing that this new device will be able to spot those library items that you can download natively to that device without having to worry about streaming is awesome. But keep in mind, it can still do the streaming. So just like with Xbox making it so you can do the stream your owned games, not just the ones that are in Game Pass, but you can also stream games from a lot of those partner developers that you may have installed on your Series X, and you can just have it stream as if it's natively to your device. In the same household or in the same Wi-Fi, it works like flawlessly in most cases. Unless you got a whole bunch of people on your Wi-Fi, then that might be part of the problem. If you got 15 devices per router, then it might struggle a little bit. But if you have a decent setup, shouldn't be any problem. Now, what I usually wind up doing is some of the games I have installed on my Series S that I take on the road when me and the wife are on set filming or at a horror con or something along those lines. I'll have some of the bigger games like Call of Duty that's like 400 and some odd gigs, and I don't feel like taking up half of the card extended card thing that's on it. I can stream that from my Series X because I leave that in sleep mode and it streams it pretty good. And that's even on like 5 to 8 megabit per second internet at the hotel versus my gig up and down at the house. So it works well. You can play things much like you can with a PS Portal kind of deal in that regard. But as far as the stuff that's native, like I said, if more than half your games or pretty close to half your games are part of that Play Anywhere initiative, you'll have access to them by installing them natively on that device. And with the saves being synced in a majority of the cases, like I said, if you're a fan of Starfield and you always wanted to take Starfield on the go, or you wanted to do the same thing with Forza Horizon, you're already covered. Same thing with Gears. All the Gears games, all of your saves are going to be covered. So if you're like, and I always use this example because I take my car in for service, or if I'm at BJ's in the line waiting for other people to scan their stuff, I can break out that device while I'm waiting in line kind of thing, because it can take a while to unload a cart and reload it and so forth type of thing. So I would say I'm looking forward to what they do with the pricing. If they lower it $50 lower than what they initially said, or if they get the big boy up to like just at the $800 mark, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
I know 800 is a lot for a lot of people, but considering the tech, like you could spend 1,100 to 1,500 on a pre-built computer and not do much better than what that device can do. And keep in mind, that's portable, which you can still hook to a hub, still hook it to a monitor, still wire in a mouse and keyboard to that, and be on par with that $1,100 to $1,500 device. Now, from a visual standpoint, you might be able to squeeze out 1440 to 4K on that $1,500 standalone PC, but you're probably running a Ryzen 5 chipset, which this would be more on par with something set closer to an R7 or a Ryzen 7 setup, but on a mobile standpoint. So there's a lot of great tech in these things. And I would say for the mass majority that are just looking for gaming on the go, or having it where, if their Xbox is also their streaming device for the household, and the kids or the spouse wants to watch a TV show, but you want a game, this would be a good alternative. I mean, if you're not, sitting there watching the movie with them. But, all in all, I would say if they knock out these prices where we kind of think they will, this is going to be one heck of a thing to get. And for the holidays, I would say definitely consider it. And if 800's too high out the price range, the $500 to $550 price range for that other device, I would say it's better than what we wanted for a portable Series S by a good bit. So
nice.
Just keep that in mind.
Interesting. 2 stories just came across my desk, and I want to bring it in for context. So the first one is going to be aimed towards Fuzzy Belvedere, because you literally freaking just mentioned it. So this comes officially from the Twitter account of Asus_ROG. It's the ROG Global. Check this out, man. This is crazy. It says transform your ROG Xbox Ally X into a desktop class powerhouse with the ROG XG Mobile, powered up by the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090 laptop GPU performance. And they have this box that is standing next to, I mean, you know what? Let me do a screen share, folks. And let me bring this in for you, because you got to see it for yourself. Like, it literally just popped up on my screen, and I got to show you. Hold on a second. Let me just bring this in, share this. Go up the screen here. Give me 1 second. Let me just remove that, add that, and hide us here. Take a look at that. The box on the left-hand side is what they're talking about, and that plugs into the ROG Ally. The ROG Ally plugs into the monitor, and you are rocking a 5090, bro. Like, are you serious? Like,
it is a bit extreme, but there are
no, sure, yeah, it absolutely is extreme.
There are some tech heads that have been doing stuff like that. So like Joanna Dark or MJ Dark, that's out there. Him and actually even Kay Asante have been doing things like this for a while, where they can take the handhelds and have them punch way above their weight class as far as what they can do. So let's say, for example, you don't have the $3 to $5 grand to spend on a desktop PC, but you already picked up one of these handhelds. You can upgrade the visuals to a 4K TV or 4K monitor by doing one of those types of hubs where you're basically running the graphics through that video card. This is possibly kind of this all spurred away from the idea of when we were talking about upgradable consoles way back when Phil had mentioned maybe that would be an idea, and somebody had the great idea of doing that where you could run a upgraded video card or run a device through that video card to get the upgraded visuals. Now, keep in mind, it's still going to cost you almost $3 grand for one of those cards. So that device is probably going to still be, what it would take to build that PC kind of deal. But that keeps in mind that these things are upgradable still. You may not be able to break it open and put a better video card in it, but these devices will last you longer than what a typical PC can because you can do stuff like that. Now, is that the norm for everybody? Probably
not.
No,
not at all. No.
But it is an option. So if you are looking for a one-stop shop to turn this PC into a desktop that you could take on the go, you could do that. And you don't have to do a 5090. You could do a 3080 and be under $1 grand doing that. But then those two prices combined would probably build you a 3080 computer without much problem, or maybe even a 4070 setup. But all things considered, that's the advantage of PCs or computer gaming, that you still have ways of upgrading. Now, we can't really hook our consoles to these and get that type of benefit, but it is something that is an option. But I would say for a mass majority, unless you're looking to hook this up to your 8K TV or maybe even your 4K TV to some extent, which the Xbox Ally X shouldn't have any problem doing so. But you will notice maybe not the crispest of lines on your 4K TV if you're sitting up close when you have just the regular Xbox Ally. It's best run at like 1080 on the bigger screen or upwards of 1440, much like the Series S. So it's not going to differ that much as far as the visual output at that point, but it will perform better or at least smoother in the most parts when you're hooking it to your TV. So keep in mind, you can hook it to a monitor, you can hook it to your TV without one of those devices, but if you want to power it up, that's the way to go. But it's going to cost you.
I have a question here from Thriller Ali that you could probably answer. He says, Mr. Boomstick, the recent update to the PlayStation Portal allows streaming of games without the need of a console. Can the Xbox Ally do the same thing?
With a Game Pass subscription, yes. As far as I have to see what they're talking about as far as the PS Portal allowing you to stream games. Like the only thing I could think of would be as if you had a PS Plus membership or something like that.
Okay,
so
that makes sense. Yeah.
If they're doing it that way, then that's fine. But like with the Xbox Ally, it could do the same if you just have a Game Pass account. Preferably the basic Game Pass account. I don't know what core, if you'd need the online, but then again, this is a PC. You could probably just go with PC Game Pass at that point and have all your bases covered for the most part. You wouldn't have to, own a game or have to have a console to do so. That would be your easiest entryway in. So if you're not in the Xbox ecosystem, yes, you can do that, but you would need a Game Pass subscription to some extent. But if you're already in the Xbox ecosystem, and let's say you had an Xbox One still in the house, you can still stream from that Xbox One to that device. If you have a PC already, like a regular desktop PC that might not be the best for, playing some of the more recent games like Doom or something, you can still stream from that device to this device if you would want to. But you would probably be better off putting that game natively on the handheld device at that point. Just keep in mind, something like Call of Duty is going to take up a lot of space, but SD cards are getting cheaper by the minute. As far as what you can put, like a 1 terabyte in there would probably run you, I haven't checked in a while. I think the 1 terabyte that I have in my Steam Deck ran me like 190 something back when I got it, but this was like over 2 years ago. I think it's a lot less now, but I'd have to double check. But they're they're a lot more reasonable for the SD cards, even the faster ones, except for the one in the Nintendo Switch 2, which they're prioritizing because it's a Nintendo proprietary one,
Right.
or at least that's what they kind of say, but it's more so that new X Speed or something like that.
Music72 in the chat says he believes it's the PlayStation Plus Premium that allows you to do that. So
Okay.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
The highest tier, which I believe is 180 a year. And it's Fuzzy, Crispy. I want to bring you in because we have a story here from or a posting from Ecstasies, and obviously he's a big scooper. He's a big part of the scooping community, especially when it comes to Xbox. He's an Xbox guy. He actually, and again, this just goes to show you how everything seems to be going together like a puzzle, and what Xbox is doing. Right? Obviously, they've partnered with Asus to bring this device to fruition. I know there are a lot of people that are trying, the naysayers of the PlayStation community. They don't like this device because it's not an Xbox, according to them, even though it says Xbox in its name, even though it has an Xbox button. I don't know much more proof you need, but fine. They're working with Steam. They're working with Good Old Games. They're working with Epic Game Store. This device is going to launch and allow you to play all of your games from all of those services, which is amazing. And again, that is the future of Xbox. But he just put up a post moments ago where it says, and this is a video, and of course, I'm going to add his video to if you want to check out his video. The latest info from Xbox adds and reveals everything about the team up with Steam and Xbox. He goes on to say crucial steps towards the full integration of Steam and the foundations of one of the most open, connected, and revolutionary consoles ever seen is happening. It's the Xbox Series consoles, and he has a picture of the Xbox Series X here. So of course I'm going to add his video if you want to check it out. More just again, it's just for context. I don't have all the deets, but Crispy, but it does seem like Xbox is hitting on all cylinders right now. Any additional context before we read the last super chats and get everyone on out of here?
Well, see, there was a thought from a lot of people, like, could at least the Series X sustain some of these things? I wonder if they're going to try it. Because realistically, they built this. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. It plays as good as the PlayStation 5. It plays as good, sometimes even better than the Pro. So, when Phil said, like, this thing, we're not going to do another iteration. We're going to go to a next generation. You look at it now, the thing's still very good. It works really well. I mean, I don't see people saying, hey, it's caught on fire. We saw all the stupid memes and stuff that, people made up, blowing their vape in there and stuff like that. But I don't see a lot of people getting worked up about the performance of the Series X, unless you're, a stan. But it's just interesting that, what they're trying to do is probably, because I mean, realistically, think about the dev mode, stuff like that. I wonder if they could, at least the Series X, be able to bring this and test it out before they even get to the next console, with the ROG obviously being the majority of what they want to push for. So I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting time in the next year to see what they're actually cooking up, because it seems like it's diabolical.
Doesn't it? Right? I mean, it's like they're limping around, and then now they're just going to step up and kick you in your ass when you think they're what I'm saying? It's funny. Again, they're making big strides to be different. And obviously Sony forced them to do this. Sony forced them to do this because Sony knocked their teeth in for 2 generations. That's just the truth. The numbers don't lie. And in order to, get everyone to play their games, now everyone is going to get an opportunity to play the games on wherever you want to play your games. And ultimately, I know old guard like us, we're totally against that. We've moved. I've said this 100 times before. We've grief has those, certain stages where we're at the last stage of acceptance. It just is what it is, and we're just gonna move on and keep it moving. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna end the show a little bit earlier because I got some things I got to do before I pick up Mrs. Boom. Normally we go about 90 minutes, or which a pinch short of the full 90 minutes. I do want to read the remainder of the super chats, and then we will get everyone out of here so you can start your holiday weekend. We have a $2 super chat here from our good brother of the show, J-Mac, in the chat. Drops a very generous $2 super chat. He says, my ship's name is Panther of Peace. Good for you, man. I love it. That is awesome. We also have Sith Lord 98. What's going on, Sith? Good to see you here, brother. I talk to him every day as well. He says this after being a channel member for a whopping 40 months. It's going to be a fun weekend playing Helldivers and Gears of War on those who have long weekends. I sadly work at the airport, a job that is open 365 days a year. Yeah, that sucks, dude. Obviously, when I was a police officer, I worked all the holidays until I got, vetted. When you become a veteran, you don't have to work Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's, but I worked all of those holidays. Here in New York, they have the West Indian Day Parade, which is in Brooklyn every year. And God, man, that is a long ass parade. That is an 18-hour day for a cop. If you have to work that parade, you have to show up at 4 a.m, and there is a really, really good chance that you're going to be there till midnight. It's a long freaking day. And obviously, when I got time on the job, I never work that anymore because it's too long. And most of the time you're standing. It's awful. It's a great parade if you are part of the community, but if you got to stand there for 18 hours, not so freaking much. But yeah, sorry to hear that, Sith Lord. Hopefully, and again, if you would have had your ROG ally already, you'd be playing in the airport on your breaks and still doing, playing games. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here at Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, Breakfast with Boom. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation enough to hit the like button. Over the weekend, I'll be cutting this down into more digestible videos. So if you missed it live or you want to catch it up on the replay on maybe something that we said, they're going to be cut down into 3 videos. And I'll do that over the weekend when I have some time. But thank you so much for tuning in. A big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that continue to come in to support Double Barrel Gaming. So let's get everyone out of here. Crispy Bomb, let's sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you on social media and potentially get those receipts and the crispy truth?
At Crispy Bomb on X, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live, and you can find me wherever I show up on Boom's channel. That's the way it goes. I don't know what next week's gonna entail because I'm hearing rumors of the big wigs, so we'll see. But we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we definitely will. And again, I'm glad you said that. Quick reminder, I'm going to put it on the social so people don't forget, but there is not going to be a show on Monday with myself, Crispy, and Fuzzy. We're taking the day off. We're going to allow people to enjoy their long holiday weekend, and I'm going to get some gaming in. God damn it! I want to play some games. I do the artwork, I do the advertising, I do the hosting. I kind of just want to unplug and just actually play some freaking games with the community. Again, Mr. BoomStick XL. If you see the gamer tag on and you see me on Helldivers 2, it's open. Just jump in. Don't blow me up, please. And let's see if we can kill some bugs together. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand. I don't know if you're doing a show tonight with the missus, but she does have her own YouTube channel and a live show each and every Friday called Fright Night with Ferocious V, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. And of course, it is a horror-based podcast. So if you're into horror or you're into the horror genre, you should definitely check it out. Halloween is around the corner. I would imagine they're going to be doing something special for that. Sell the brand, Fuzzy Belvedere. Where can people subscribe to the YouTube channel? But more importantly, follow you guys on social media.
Oh, as always, love doing this on Friday mornings. Always love talking about the gaming industry and hanging out with you and Crispy. Love hanging out with the chat. Thank you guys for showing up and showing us support. Don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. I put the links for my YouTube channel as well as my wife's YouTube channel in the chat. Fright Night with Ferocious Fee will be on tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. We're finally going to get around to Dead by Breakfast, or Dead and Breakfast, I should say. Kind of I wouldn't say corny, but a more of a cheesy zombie kind of film, but definitely a good one to watch. And we'll be talking about it in the chat and everything. So definitely come hang out with us. Once again, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Definitely check it out. But for everybody that's a gamer or even into horror movies, have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Play some games, watch some movies, have a good time, and hope to see you guys here Friday morning next week. Same time, same place. See you then.
Well, you know what? Real quick, before I get out of here, I got to put the Popo hat on. And I have to say this because I obviously, I was a police officer for 21 years and I loved every second of it. And one of the most horrific things that a police officer can respond to is someone that was boxed and got behind the wheel. It happens more often than you could possibly imagine, folks. I know this is probably a lame-ass thing to say, but do not drink and drive. Have a good time with your friends and your family, and do not get behind the wheel if you have had any drinks. I don't care if you've had one drink. There are Ubers that you can call, have your best friend drop you off, sleep it off on the couch, whatever. Do not ruin your life, and more importantly, the lives of others, because someone that's boxed is loose. And when you get into an accident because you're intoxicated, normally they walk away unscathed. It's the family of 4 coming back from the ballpark that are dead. So do not do that, folks. Please. Again, if you're going to remember anything from this podcast, remember me telling you not to drink and drive. I responded to so many of those calls, and honestly, some of the worst nightmares I've ever had is because of what I've seen. And you do not want to be responsible for a horrific scene like that. So again, I know it's lame, but I have to say it because even though I'm no longer a police officer, you're always a police officer. So thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Have an amazing holiday weekend. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. To live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.